welcome back, my friends, to another episode of Breaking the Barriers. I'm Safrianna and as always, I'm delighted to be joined by my co-host, Red Moon Eagle. Today, we're going to be talking about the karmic spiral, the karmic swirl, the karmic whirlpool, whatever you want to call it, karma and what it's really doing. So, as always, I like to caveat this program just by saying that we're here to help you see a different perspective. You do not have to agree with us. We are not the be all end all. You and your intuition and your inner truth is the most important thing, but maybe we help you notice a pattern or see a possibility that you've not encountered before. That's our purpose here with Breaking the Barriers. So, as we get started, Red, if you would be so kind as to introduce yourself.
My name is Red Moon Eagle. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I'm a catalyst, teacher, and a healer. So we wait and see what that catalyst energy is going to do today. Catalyst energy is like dropping a very large boulder into a pond. And I am aware of it. And when we swirl, I think it's important to know that we kind of do that sometimes. But let's dive into it, Safrianna. Let's see what comes up. I'm excited.
Yes. Oh, I love that description, by the way, of a boulder into a pond. That's very accurate of catalyst energy. Dig it. And just in case you don't know me, like I said, Safrianna Luna, the Queer Spirit Guide. I am a clinician, a trauma specialist, a communication specialist, author, speaker, just doing what I'm a manifesting generator, multi-passionate creative. That's what I ultimately am. So I want to just begin by orienting to frequencies, because frequencies do play a big role in the karmic swirl. Mm-hmm. And this is something we do have past episodes if you want all the fine details on. But just to give a quick overview, there is one frequency that is here working on their karma. Every other frequency is here working essentially to help the people in the karma. And that, according to Red's observations in the world, we believe there to be about 80% or so of people who are actively doing their own karmic work, and then 20% that are assisting or otherwise kind of supporting somehow in the process of recoupling with ourselves after trauma. So trauma and karma, obviously, I just said that goes hand in hand. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But the reason that I thought this was such an important topic to bring up right now is that I'm witnessing in the collective a whole lot of karmic churning. It's, we've been in this time for a while now, for several years now, of bringing all the junk to the surface, all the shadows to the surface to be collectively worked on. And in that, we all have choices to make. We all have choices to make on how we deal with that. And there's some karma involved. So I would love for you, Red, to just orient us to your description of karma in terms of a car accident. Just to give an example of what karma really looks like versus not taking karma in.
Right. It's my favorite analogy. Thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to use a really simple one. You're driving along in your car, you come to a stop sign and you stop, and somebody hits you from behind. Okay. A lot of people have experienced this, so some people can relate, right? Karma in this circumstance is the intersectionality of the two people in the cars. Okay. One life is one car. You're the one in your car. You came to the stop sign. And the other car is that intersectionality. Okay. You got a bump. Okay. There's choices in every single intersectionality. If the person gets out of the car behind you, runs up to the car and starts screaming and yelling and hollering at you, and you're like, whoa, dude, right? You have choices. You can allow yourself to say, wow, that person must really be having a lot of things going on with them. Like, I think I'm just going to keep my door closed and call the police and have them come because they clearly have something going on and I don't need to put myself into danger. But there's layers of this, right? Like, I have seen the intersectionality play out a little differently. Somebody hits you and you get out of your car and you run back to the car behind you and you're yelling and screaming at them. Like, how could you do that? Weren't you paying attention? And then please come, all the things happen. You get in your car and you go on to work, but you spend all day obsessing about how they ruined your life. And now you have to have your bumper repaired. And what if there's more damage? And you have to pay a copay to have somebody look at it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? You are now holding on to karma. You are now owning something that you don't have to own. You don't have to sit in that. Does that mean that every intersectionality in your life doesn't have impact? I'm not saying that. Intersectionalities do have impact, but whether or not you choose to hold on to that shit is a choice of whether or not you're going to hold on to karma. So how that plays out in life is you got rear-ended. You spent the next 6 weeks pissed at that random person. And then you can have a complication, right? You're pissed. You got their insurance card. You did all the things right. You maybe didn't call the police, but you did the whole exchange thing. And then you found out, oh, they actually haven't paid their copay for insurance. So they actually don't have good insurance and it's not going to be covered. And then you add that disappointment, fear, rage, shame, whatever on top of all of it. And you're holding on to more of it. And now every single time you hit an intersection and a stop sign, you slow down to 10 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour, 2 miles an hour, 800 feet before the stop sign because you're paranoid that you want to give the people behind you plenty of time so they don't hit you by accident again. So you're anticipating somebody else's intersectionality to the point where it's crippled your ability to move forward in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And now maybe you avoid all intersectionalities. You avoid all stop signs. Now you're going to go do a roundabout, but you're going to drive around the roundabout 3 or 4 times every single time because you're absolutely paranoid that somebody's going to hit you from behind. That's how karma plays out in our lives. And there's layers to it, but that's the summation of karma.
Yeah, first off, I thought of this story when I accidentally pulled out in front of someone at night recently, and they followed me honking their horn and tried to ride along. There was no accident. There was plenty of room, but they were very angry. And I was just in my car. I'm not looking. I'm sending blessings. I'm very sorry, but I'm not attaching to this. We're all okay. And it was just very funny because I was like, karma, I'm not letting this karma stick. That's theirs. So sorry again. My bad, but no, I don't need to buy in this big way. But anyway, what this analogy also makes me think of in terms of the karmic swirl too is the intersectionality with generational trauma.
Oh yeah.
Because really when I look at, gosh, there's so many intersecting topics here. If you are totally confused about what we're talking about, we probably have talked about specifics in other episodes, just a caveat. But it makes me think of just this narrative that we're on in the spiral, in the larger 9 dimensions of spiral of this particular universe, and the 3D through 5 into 6D, if I'm recalling correctly, being where we're really working out karma. And so being in this body here at this time means that we are doing karmic work no matter who you are. Again, whether you're holding the karma yourself or you're helping someone else try to navigate it. But this karma has been passed down for eons on this planet, especially as we amplified that with a lot of the colonial imperialist violence that has come into the world. And that's the karma we're really contending with right here, right now, is this like hierarchical generational stories that have clung.
One of the reasons I really like the car analogy to karma is that there's a part of the story that I very rarely use, but if you think about how we travel in the world, everybody knows what a car is, right? But intergenerationally, if we go backwards, we weren't driving cars. It was a horse or a wagon so there was an animal entity that was on the journey with you in everything that you did. And we have moved away from that. So when you have our animal helpers that are with you every step of the way, and you hit an intersectionality, you have support. You have built-in helpers in every single thing that you're doing in your journey. That's why the analogy works so well. So if you're in a horse and buggy and you get to a stop sign, right? You get to a place where you have to stop. It's really hard to make a horse run into you unless the horse and wagon are running away terrified of something else, right? So there's a pause built into that system that we do not have anymore. So when you're in a car, there's no other assistance. You have no built-in assistance in your journey. It's not that it isn't there. It is always there, but we don't see it anymore because our mode of travel has changed, right? So when we look at the intergenerational stuff, think of it really logistically. Would your great-great-grandmother be a little weirded out that you hit a stop sign and the computer in your car goes, somebody is too close to you? You know, like there's cars that have that weird voice in it saying, hey, there's somebody too close. Like, would she freak out? Probably, right? And your great, your 5 to 7 to 8 great grandparents may not understand why we are so disconnected, why everything happens so fast, and that we're not giving ourselves time. We're not giving ourselves a pause in those intersectionalities. So it's really easy to stay spinning. So I'll use this like a real world example. I'm going to use your intersectionality as an example. So, okay, you pull out in front of somebody, nobody's hurt. The person behind or that you pulled out in front, like truly probably had a complete meltdown experience, clearly, if they're following you around, like waving and gesticulating and tell you you're an awful person in their car. Like you can watch it kind of happen. You don't have to hear it to know they have lost their cookies. She slid right off that cracker. And in that intersectionality, in that person's experience, they have a layer of compounding trauma. They have a lack of control and a lack of pause in what they're experiencing. They probably have layers of trauma in the vehicle that they're driving, like the mode of transport has trauma, right? How many accidents has happened in their family? Have they experienced additional accidents? The trauma trigger in karma can create a very tight swirl. It's like we know it goes around and around, but it's so tightly clenched that anytime anything additional comes into it, it just gets wrapped up in it and it becomes a bigger and bigger ball. And choices that we make allow us to loosen that ball or tighten the ball.
Right.
So this person you had an intersectionality with may have already been a really, really tight swirl. And that just it was like a thread that got wrapped up in something and it just wove into it. And it's not your responsibility to own that karma and say, oh my God, what could I have done differently? And I didn't do that right. And what if I'd looked this way instead of that way? And what if I'd worn different glasses? And what if, right? Like that's where we hold on to karma. And I want to go back to something because your guides are reminding me that I really wanted to say this when you said it before, which was those that are here to help people in karma, it doesn't mean that they can't accrue karma, but they often, not all the times, but they're often a little bit more aware that it is a choice. And they're often a little bit more aware that they're a little confused when they are with people that can't be aware that it's karma. And karma isn't what people think. Like it's not this original sin thing that as soon as you're born into a human meat suit, you have automatically all the karma in the world from all of your ancestors. Yes, when people choose their blueprint, they may choose to unwind some karma, but that's not you don't have to hold on to it, right? Like it's a choice. You don't have to hold on to any of the karma that you've said, okay, I'm going to write my blueprint and I'm going to work on karma about this accident. I'm going to work on karma about this accident. I'm going to work on karma about this accident. Most people don't choose a lot of karma to work on in one lifetime because it's a lot.
It is a lot.
I mean, we're not dumb. I mean, our universal selves are not dumb. We might be here going, what kind of dumb cookie did I swallow? But you don't do that. Your higher self, if you want to use that awful term, your multi-dimensional quantumly connected self wouldn't do that to yourself. So it's not this whole lifetime journey of picking apart every single karmic interaction you've ever had in the timeline of the universe. Like we don't do that to ourselves. But we do choose experiences that help us unwind karma a little bit along the way until we can realize, oh yeah, I don't have to hold on to that. I can let that go. Wow, that's pretty easy. Wow, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Why didn't somebody tell me that before? Well, somebody probably did, but you wanted to do it the hard way. We all do it the hard way. Yay.
We all do it the hard way
And
until we realize that.
And the helpers are doing the help. The helpers ask the questions. Why are you doing it that way? The helpers ask the questions like, you have to be in your meat suit. Like, you can't bypass this shit. The helpers say things like, greens, they're notorious for being born into families that are just all yellow or all working on intergenerational trauma. And a green will do the one thing that triggers everybody in the room. Right?
Speaking the truth.
Speaking the truth, showing the truth, demonstrating the truth that you don't have to hold on to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's triggery to people in trauma and karma, but they're doing their job. They're doing the thing to make everybody uncomfortable.
I just had this image of yellows, and yes, to backtrack with the frequencies, yellow is the frequency label that we use for people in karma. Green are the primary helpers, as Red is saying.
Heavy lifters.
The heavy lifters, yeah. I'm picturing people in their trauma and karma with like this little Easter basket, and they're like, this is mine. You don't get to take it from me. Because that's what I've encountered so much is we do get over-identified with our trauma, and we do get over-identified with karma if we're occurring it, or if we're not, because we see other people's karma and we're like, am I supposed to do that? I can't. I know that I'm allowed
take
to
it and borrow it. Oh my gosh, don't take other people's karma.
I know so many people that think that that's like their job is to literally get in the trenches and try and take on other people's shit. And I'm like, no, stop that. We don't have to, like, if we're not here doing our own karma work, we don't have to experience the karma in this life to learn a lesson. You don't have to. You can observe. You can learn plenty by observation. And it's really not hard to see people in the karmic swirl when you really do step back and look, because it looks like people making the same damn unhealthy choice over and over and over and over again. And even some people coming in and being like, do you realize you're doing that? And then being like, I don't know what you're talking about, and continuing to do it and do it and do it. And that's like the bottom of the swirl. Because then I meet some other people that are clearly doing karma work, but they're like up here and they're like, oh my God, thank God you're here to help give me this handout because I'm so done with this. And that's, there's this spectrum of that karma work too, and a spectrum of how we are approaching it. But it does come back to free will and choice. And we all have the choice to not take it on, to not embody it and embrace it and implant it and pack ourselves full.
And the interesting thing about karma is I've met, and I jokingly say this, but this is an absolutely true statement. Like, for decades, no other color ever sat in front of me in a session. It was always yellows. I'd look at the green, walk by the table at the farmer's market going, oh, please come sit down. And they'd go, no, I do not see me. Do not see me. Do not see me. And I really thought for a long time, I really did think it was me. I was like, what's wrong? But I learned so much from yellows. I really spent a lot of time with them. And the time that I spent with them, they taught me so much about, because I've met some yellows that they've been able to go, okay, clearly I can choose not to do this again. And they do step out of that swirl. And sometimes it's just a little while. Like they're like, okay, I feel comfortable enough to let this go. So I'm going to step out of it for a little while, but then I'm going to fall back into it. But then I'm going to step out of it and then I'm going to fall back into it. But they fall back less, right? Like they fall back into that tight, and it becomes very loose. So it's no longer this tight knot of entrenchment. I have no better word for it, but it's like watching the greyhound, the retired greyhounds, when they run around the yards and they end up with the trench all the way around the yard. That's kind of what happens with karma, and nothing will grow on that track. You cannot grow things when you're entrenched in that swirl. But I've met so many yellows that I call them very bright, because yellows start resonating this illuminateness when it doesn't mean their frequency changes. Their frequency doesn't change, but they're more aware of the choices to either be in karma or not be in karma. And it doesn't mean that, oh, they let it all go, it's gone. It just means they have more looseness. They have more luminance in their ability to recognize in that car. Yeah, I'm going to sit in my car and I'm going to send you lots of positives and I'm going to forgive you in advance. I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm not going to hold on to this all day long, but I am definitely going to call for help. Because that's what all the other vibrations are here to do. They are the call for help. They are the ones that you call to say, help me navigate so I don't hold on to this, and help me forgive and let go of and feel all the feels.
Right. Going back to the generational trauma piece, like I do want to again just say, because I like to really offer reassurance, because I know we say challenging things here, that there's nothing wrong or bad about you if you're in karma. Like we have all been on that journey here in the 3D. If we're here, probably. Like we've probably been there at some point in time.
Yes.
But there's beauty in this relationship of yellow and everything else, because it's teaching us community and cohesion and communication and how to come together, because on those higher dimensions, using air quotes here, on those other higher numbers, right? If we count, it's a higher number. But those dimensions where there isn't karma, there's so much more enmeshment and interwovenness and telepathic communication and all that. That would be very hard to do if you're spinning in karma, because there's a separateness, an us versus them energy that I think is very natural to karma.
Yeah, it becomes an us versus them. I mean, if you think about the analogy of the car accident, that intersectionality, it's you did this to me. Why weren't you paying attention? Why are you yelling at me? What did I do to you? Right? And if you have two people doing that, nobody's communicating. The you. Even if you turned one person into, I'm upset at you, I'm angry at you, I feel hurt, I feel violated, I feel taken advantage of, that's a little bit better. You're starting to acknowledge that it's about you and there's another person involved and you're trying to communicate that. That's a better way of getting there. But it's still, if you go home and all you do is pity me, victim, 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 and no forgiveness of self or the other, and no allowance for that intersectionality, you end up in a victim blaming, self-persecution cycle. There's a whole psychology in this, but the baseline is that you're not letting go of the potential karmic interaction. You're holding on to it. And why?
Right.
It doesn't mean you don't care. And I want to be very, very clear about this. It can sound like I'm telling you not to give a shit about the people around you. And that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, we are quantumly connected, interdimensional beings, and we are all love. We are all love in other dimensional spaces and time. Okay. But when we come here, it's gritty, it's dirty, it's hard, and we have a lot of fear, a disappointment, shame. We have a lot of things going on. I've experienced these things. I am not above and beyond any of this. And it's easy to get entrenched. It's easy to forget that we are quantumly connected, multidimensional, loving entities. And when you have an intersectionality, it's really hard to conceptualize. I think for most people, it's that conceptualization that I can look at the person that's in my window railing and screaming and yelling at me. And I'm a little bit like, are they going to break the window? Like, can you look at it with that removed curiosity of, I wonder what kind of bad day they had. And it's really easy instead to go, oh my God, they're mad at me. Oh my God, what are they going to do to me? Oh my God, I'm going to be angry too. I'm going to dredge up that flight or fight and do the fight. And I'm going to dredge it up from the bottom of the internal side of me. And I'm going to match that, right? It's easy to fall into that trap, that karmic trap. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot harder in this world to remember that's an entity too. And I don't care how that entity shows up as a 6'5" angry man or a 4'2" Karen. It doesn't matter. They are their own entities and you are your own entity. And I'm going to use the word grace, the grace and compassion that we can give space for the other person does something to you. Yes. And what that does to you is gives you space and that pause that we don't have in our world anymore, built into our word anymore. It gives that space to say, okay, I don't have to hold on to this. And that it gives space for the intersectionality and that past generational trauma to also have space to start the healing process. Mm-hmm. Yellows have taught me so much about the potentiality. I like to say I've never met anybody who's reached their full potential because everybody I meet, I don't care how enlightened they think they are, myself included, I'm kind of dumb sometimes. The universe gives me many lessons frequently to keep my ego very down. and that those lessons remind me frequently that we live such short lives and we can get caught in this karma and it stops things moving. You can't reach your potential. You can't get out of the rut. Nothing will grow in that track. And we're here to help each other, not be in that track, but we have to give each other a lot of support to get there. And we have choices. You can choose to be in the track. If this is the one thing that you don't want to let go of because that's safe and it feels like you understand it, enjoy, have a good time. I would recommend not hanging around any catalysts while you do it because that will not be comfortable.
Yeah, what comes up for me in this is one of my, I want to call them famous, but I'm not famous. So with my clients, famous phrases, because it's like one of my things that I come back to again and again about compassion is that compassion does not equal enabling. And this is where greens, I'm going to call us greens out because again, I have green frequency. A lot of us think that in order to help someone through their karma, we have to completely accept all of the things that they're doing to hurt themselves and others. And that compassion means just being there and holding space for whatever they're doing and swirling in and going through. But I've learned and started to teach that compassion does not equal enabling, right? Correct. So even going back to the car accident example, enabling someone to stand there and yell at me and engage with it, it's gonna really continue to dredge that stuff up and make it worse for both of us. But if I'm just compassionate, but I also have a boundary, that helps them break the cycle.
It can.
It can.
It
But
gives them the choice that there's an option to break
the
the cycle.
choice, exactly,
Yes.
because when we're just like, I'm just going to be compassionate, I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to have any boundaries, I'm not going to do anything other than let this continue to be exactly what it is, that does not give an opportunity for different choices or breaking the cycle. And
Yep.
that choice that we have to stay entrenched in victimhood
Yeah.
and powerlessness
Yep.
and enabling others to treat us poorly, like it is a choice. And
Mhm.
again, we're always resources, like we understand intimate partner violence and domestic violence
Yes.
and violent situations in which we genuinely may not have a choice
Mhm.
that's right there for us, and it might take a
Mhm.
lot of work and time to be able to
Yeah,
make a choice
absolutely.
safely. But generally speaking, we have the power of choice all the time.
All the
But
time.
we don't always make it in our highest interests because there are these generational stories and all of these
Yes.
shadows that are here swirling around us all the time for us to contend with.
And that brings me to the awful things that are happening in the world today.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this, and it can be triggery for people. So if I say something that's triggery, please take your time. Please walk away. You do not have to listen to this until you're ready. Okay. But there are people right now that are being victims. They are being targeted. They are being held in facilities. They are being persecuted, unalived, taken, disappeared. These are real things that are happening. And in the metaphysical community, in the witchy community, there are people that are starting to see targeted events in their life, in their community. Now, I know this. This is part of that dark time that we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Even in that, you have choices. There was a book, I really wish I could remember the title of it. I was going to look it up prior to our call, and then I got busy somewhere else. But there was a book written by a survivor of Auschwitz. Trying to figure out how to Americanize what I want to say in German. Anyway, basically it was this woman. She wrote a book. It was an autobiographical memoir about her experience. And part of the book is just raw. It's raw. She's giving factual, these are the things that happened, but she's also expressing all of the emotions, like, why is this happening? And as she's processing the book, you can kind of see the healing process where she comes to a place where she says somewhere in it, and I can't remember exactly when in the book she says it, but something to the effect of, I forgive them, but I'm not going to excuse them. Right? I'm holding them accountable, but I am going to forgive them. I am going to forgive myself because there was nothing I could do, because there is a powerlessness. When you're being persecuted, there is powerlessness there.
Yep.
It is real. I have not been persecuted in the way that people are being persecuted today in our society. I have not. I have had my own experiences, and those experiences are what they are. But I do know what being powerless is in the face of being a victim. And that sense of powerlessness in your physical body, your 3D meat suit, does not define you as a spiritual entity. And that's one of the reasons I really liked this book, is that it reinforced something that I've always questioned a little bit, because I am clearly a pasty white chick, like I'm not being targeted, right? So I have to look at the intersectionality of that privilege and go, how can I be more compassionate? And how can I understand that karmic cycle in that lens? Because I can't experience it. So I have to find a way to understand and be compassionate. And one of the things that drives me crazy about some of the social work type language is have empathy for people. And I'm like, empathy and having the gift of empathy is so confusing right now. And not everybody is going to be empathic, but
Right.
everybody has the ability, everybody, even the most damaged human with a lot of trauma, can learn to have grace and compassion for their fellow beings. but not everybody's going to be an empath, right? So
Right.
the things that are happening today in the world it is going to trigger societal traumatic issues, that colonialism, that racism, that othering. And we're watching it play out at a national level. We're watching, think of our legislature. They've just completely bent over in half to accommodate a group of people that are clearly entrenched in their own trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And that entrenchment and the bystander allowance of I have no power to do anything, so I'm not going to do anything because my own trauma and my own karma won't let me get out of that swirl to say, maybe we shouldn't do it that way. We're watching it play out. So watching people being victimized and being targeted. And it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel helpless. It's okay to be confused, not know what to do, feel like you're screaming into the void of darkness. This is wrong. And if you're any other frequency than yellow, there's so much wrongness that your body wants to scream all of the time and you're exhausted, right? Yellows in that experience, it would be very easy to say, well, there's nothing I can do. But this author that she wrote from having survived Auschwitz is a clear example of someone who realized that they could step out of that karmic swirl and say, yes, I was victimized. Yes, I was tortured. I was hurt. I was targeted, all the things. And I can choose to heal. I can choose to say, I forgive you. I can give you grace. I can give you compassion. I can say all these wonderful things. I can forgive myself and know that there was nothing I could do differently. And I can also say this was still wrong and we should never, ever do this again. And I'm going to hold you accountable for that.
Yep.
We can be more powerful in the world in our day-to-day interactions when we're not swirling and when we allow the intersectionality to recognize it, recognize the intersectionality, allow ourselves those choices to not gain more karma on top of it, and to hold those accountable that need to be held accountable. If somebody says something that doesn't feel good, we have been told, and I have been told this by enough greens to know that I think it's a green thing, that we just have to be nice to them. We just have to be nice to them. We just have to let them, they just don't know any better. Okay, a 2-year-old doesn't know any better, but a 40-year-old man or woman knows better. No, create that boundary. And you can do it with compassion and grace.
Yep.
We can do this. We can do this. I get asked every once in a while, they're like, man, you were so calm. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, how, weren't you upset? I'm like, in what was I supposed to be upset? Like, I'm very aware of that intersectionality.
Yeah.
And I can be confused, but I'm very aware of the intersectionality. Like, I'm not going to pick it up and carry it because it ain't mine. Like, I don't want that basket. It's got shit in it that I'm not sure I want.
Little Easter basket of trauma and karma. Yeah. Yes, I absolutely would agree. That's probably a green thing. The whole, like, we need to be nice to them, and or a yellow thing of we need to be nice to them because we are struggling with accountability, but that's a whole
yes yes, there's that too.
But yes, part of my big lesson as a green has been that I need to get firm and have the compassion does not equal enabling. We have to have compassion, which starts in the self first,
yes,
and then extends to others. So if it's not compassionate towards us, it can't be compassionate towards others. That's literally going to create karmic junk. If we're like, let me stab myself to bleed for this other person that really probably doesn't want me to bleed for them, and now I'm creating this awful toll here, like that's not great. And
Nope. And
we
they're just
need
looking at you like, didn't that hurt?
why did you do that?
Yeah.
We people that love us and care about us don't want us to hurt ourselves in their name.
No.
And we have a lot of very mixed narratives that I know continue to perpetuate this generational wounding and karmic pattern of
Yep.
martyrdom, which
Yep.
is very woven into modern religion. I mean, talk
Yep.
about a place where a lot of karma is created, modern religion, a
Pretty
lot of
much.
it, because that is just perpetuating and gridlocking the stories in.
Yeah, there's no original sin. You can let that go.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. I don't even know where that I would love to throttle the person who came up with that one.
I'll have to do some I used to be a super Jesus freak, like
Yeah.
researched every bit of Jesus, still bros with Jesus. Jesus is great.
Yeah.
Wonderful entity to work
Mhm.
with. But Jesus did not want us to believe this original sin thing, totally a translation thing, totally a power and control thing. And it works, right? Because when you have a bunch of karmic, already working on karma people coming in and being fed a story of like, you're already bad and wrong and you can't fix this, you can never atone for this. What does that do to somebody who's already in karma and now probably feels like they're powerless to ever get out of it? Because they can never sacrifice enough to be
Yeah.
worthy of that.
The cool thing is watch the families where everybody buys the narrative and one child is born and they from the very first go, huh?
I'm pretty
That's
sure
it.
that was me.
That's a different frequency. That child is a different frequency of everybody else in that family. And no matter how many bricks you put on top of their head to keep them in line, they will not and cannot because their vibrational frequency goes,
Something's wrong
I
there. Yeah, I
don't
still to
get
this
it.
day getting I won't call them arguments, just very gentle with my mother of you're allowed to believe that, and I know in myself that sin is made up, not a thing.
Not a
Like
thing.
I refuse to believe that an all loving universe is
Yeah.
gonna slap that on people, especially people who like aren't born into that religion. What is just doesn't compute. It's karmic story. It's
It is the
just
karmic
karmic
story.
story.
It is the inherited karmic story that we're allowing to continue.
Well,
And
it's
if
running
you
our
look
nation right now.
well, and that's something to really look at. If you look at the narrative, where did Project 2025 come from? What is the play out and the complete ignoring the rest of the population that clearly doesn't want this? Look at the entrenchment in those families. We have a dude from South Africa whose family were Nazis, entrenched Nazis. And we're watching him influence our country. And people are like, how did this happen?
Hmm.
How did you ask that question? Were you not paying attention? But it's okay. There's no shame. I don't want to shame anybody to think that, well, I was paying attention. And how did it still happen? I've been watching it happen too, guys. It's not like I've had my head in the sand. I've definitely been paying attention. Paying attention and knowing what to do and know when the right timing to do something is different. And it's pretty rare that any of the other frequencies that are helping people in karma go out front. It is very uncomfortable, I think, by the nature of most of the other frequencies, especially if there's different life themes involved, for some random indigo to say, I'm going to go fix it, right? Like that's just not normally going to happen. But that's where in the discussion in some of the metaphysical communities of light workers standing up, light workers doing the thing, there's a lot of light, and I use the word light worker loosely, those that have that calling. We came here for a reason. We're here to be activated during the dark time to do the heavy lifting, 100%. We're still trying to figure out how to do that. Like Safrianna, you and I doing a podcast, like that is like driven by need to have the discussion and talk about the difficult things, not because either one of us really want to be out front doing the thing, but because this is part of the work, right?
Part of the work.
And those that there are yellows that I have worked with over the years. I mean, I think there's a genuine reason why I worked with yellows for decades, is that they knew they needed to be ready. They might be yellows. That's okay. We all have a purpose. We all have a reason that we're here. And they were working on their stuff, so that they could be out front. And we have some of them that we are seeing that are out front. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. We're getting there, and people are waking up, and it will be okay. The karmic swirl makes you doubt that any of this has a point. It's all pointless. Nothing we do is going to change. We just need to sit back, circle the wagons, stay at home, and not piss off any of the people that are targeting you. Don't do that.
Yeah. Don't give in.
Don't give in.
Pre-comply.
And how you participate should fit you. I may say, go out, write letters, go make phone calls, go join your legislature, go run for office. I should not tell you what to do. I get really passionate and I want to be enthusiastic, but I basically sound like I'm telling you what to do. I don't want to tell you what to do.
Find your place in the ecosystem.
Yeah, find your place. Are you someone that says, I want to participate, but I don't want to do it alone? Go find a friend that will just be your body double. Or I don't think anybody's going to hear me. That's okay. Find somebody that will hear you and make friends. We all have our own shadow. We know this from the bio numbers. Everybody's got a shadow, and that shadow is really loud when you're entrenched in karma. It's really, really loud. And that's okay. You're not alone. You're never alone in this.
Yeah. And that is ultimately the big lesson of all of this. We're not alone.
Nope.
We are meant to come back together. We're meant to do away with this us versus them over time, so that we can all celebrate our uniqueness and our blueprints and our teams and our gifts and all of it. So all the things. Well, thank you again, Red, as always, for being willing to have these conversations. And to you, our listeners, we love you so much. We love this planet and this world and just want more peace and ease for everyone. And that takes being uncomfortable because we're in a world full of shadows right now. But we don't have to be afraid of them. We can lean in. We can do this together. And the more that we're all willing to do that, the less of this karmic and generational swirl we're going to be in. So again, we see you. We believe in you. We're cheering you on. We are here. You can get in touch with us very easily. All the information is on our pages, on our profiles. We are just a message away if you need that extra support, that one-on-one support, or to come join a community where you can be supported. We're doing this work together. Yeah,
you're not alone. We are here. If you find this, you're like, who are these people? Go watch some of the other videos. We have a lot of them.
So many.
we're very passionate about it. That's why there's so many of them. And I truly have watched the work my whole life amaze me constantly, where I think, I don't know where that's going to go. Where's that going to end up? And then there's a beautiful gift where there's an intersectionality, and I watch someone actively be able to go, oh, I actually know what's happening here. And you can watch them breathe into it, be compassionate with themselves and the other person, and walk away from an intersectionality that could have been very entrenching, not be. Like, you don't have to add more karma onto whatever the hell else is going on. We all have choices. Yes, the world is retarded right now. Fucking retarded right now. That's okay. We have each other. You're not doing it alone. It is hard. Find your voice. Be with each other. Be with each other, and know that the person next to you might be just as entrenched in karma as you are. That's okay. It's all okay. Yeah. We're powerful.
More than we're willing to admit a lot of the time, for sure. So we're here again until next time.
Until
And
next
we'll be
time.
back in 2 weeks to keep talking
2
about what we
weeks.
talk about. As always, if there is something you want us to cover, let us know.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. We're breaking the
Bye.
barriers, friends. Bye.